These two ladies are opening a used EV dealership 2 weeks after all the rebates go away. So we're going to find out exactly what is going on here and why they think they can make a run at this.
Welcome to EV Insider by Recurrent, where we give you access to leaders from across the industry, like the founders of EcoAuto Northwest, Shannon and Genevieve Carter. Let's get started.
Thanks for having me here. I'm really excited.
Thank you for
all.
coming.
Yeah, this is really neat.
The first of many times you will visit us.
Okay, so let's talk about the market and your decision to start this company at the time you did, in the place you did. Give me like your big theory of the used EV market, like where it's going for the next couple of years.
So Jenny and I decided that we wanted to open a car dealership because we wanted to change the way that people think about buying and driving cars and give them a better buying and servicing experience. That's it. And would you open a car dealership?
I would be woefully unqualified.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a good question. By way of introduction, would you tell us how you are qualified to open an EV dealership?
So I spent 15 years with Tesla. I started with them in 2009, just selling Roadsters.
Yeah.
I met Shannon 10 years ago when she came to work for Tesla. She went on and worked for Lucid and for Ford, building out their EV sales strategy. So electric vehicles are our niche. They're what we specialize in. They're what we know the most about. And they're also where we see the biggest opportunity because a lot of used car dealers don't want to sell electric vehicles. And even when they do it with very little information available to the consumer.
This feels like a real contrarian play. You're like zigging when everybody else zags.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You got to fill a space that's empty.
Yeah.
You don't want to go pushing your way in where everybody else is.
Yeah.
But also, if you want to go shopping, even for a new EV, but specifically for a used EV and compare brands, this is going to be a 1 to 2 week process for you currently to go see all of the different cars and all of the different places. And a lot of the people you're talking to aren't going to know anything about the vehicle you're looking at. So that is an opportunity that we would like to help with.
Yeah. So fast forward, 3 months from now, like what does it look like here? Like what's your sort of inventory strategy? Like how many, I'm going to be able to walk in here and test drive how many different makes and models of EVs?
Mm-hmm. Well, we will have all of the major used electric vehicles every time, every day, all the time. Yeah. For our first inventory mix coming into October, we will try to stay out of that 20 to 25,000 market selling price, just to let the market kind of figure itself out.
Yeah.
And we'll probably stick with more of the 30 to 40,000 and then the 10, 12, 15,000.
Okay.
Because we don't want to have cars on our lot from our first inventory swing that we have to sell at a loss.
That are a little more unpredictable.
More unpredictable.
I've been talking to a lot of dealers about like what happens to used EV prices after October 1st, right?
We've seen that.
And yeah, Shannon, you weighed in on some of that.
I have, yeah.
And, and I think that there's some really interesting kind of, I call them like magnet price points, like $24,999 is like clearly there's like, it seems like half of all used EVs are priced right there.
Tax credit cars.
Now, right? Tax credit cars. There's another pocket at like $13,000 because that's like the lowest price you can put it at to still get full $4,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I do think there's some stuff that's getting attracted to, especially pulled up from maybe 10 to 13 because it's like, well, you get $4,000 instead of getting $3,000. Feels like a good deal. So I think that there's a really interesting sort of like next couple of months on like what happens to the cars that were priced right at those 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going to avoid them.
We're gonna watch them very closely. Is what we're gonna do. We're going to be looking at all of our local markets. We're going to be looking how many days they've been on the lot, what they're priced at, what their price drop has been at, and we're going to make friends with all of our local dealers. And we're going to, when we feel like the time is right and it's the time to pick up the phone and ask if they want to do a wholesale deal with us, then we're going to be prepared to do that. And we're going to, try to have customers already ready to buy those vehicles as well. Just like anything in business, it's going to be like marketing, right? Getting the right clients in and then having the right product for them to sell. So it's going to be a juggle, right? We're not going to get ourselves stuck in one way. We're going to be really curious. We're going to allow ourselves to pivot. We're going to be humble and have no egos, and we're just going to figure shit out. And when we make mistakes, yeah, absolutely. We have to, because that's how we're going to learn.
Yeah.
But we're going to have fun doing it.
How'd you pick this market? Like, why the Seattle area? Why where you chose specifically? And how do you think that different markets around the country diverge over the next couple of years?
I would say we picked this market because we live here. This is our community.
Yeah.
And if we are going to be making an effort to make electric vehicles and sustainable transportation more accessible, of course we're going to start where we live. I mean, all cars on the road are future used cars.
Yeah.
So the EVs aren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
No, they need a home. They need somebody, they need a place where they can be sold and serviced, and people need a place where they can come and be curious and learn without the pressure from dealerships or the lack of human connection from other companies. The market, the industry is so ripe for change. And we see the electric vehicle, we've always seen the electric vehicle as the catalyst for change. And this is just a continuation of that.
Yeah. I just think it's fascinating with, like, I feel like there are two pendulums. There's a vibes pendulum and there's a data pendulum, right? And the vibes pendulum has been swinging way back and forth this year. It's sort of pegged to, like, EVs are a fad, they're going out, and they're never going to be here again. And then you just keep on looking at the data pendulum, and it's like, nope, there's just more and more and more data that says we are actually making this transition, and there's bumps in the road, but, like, it's happening.
Yeah.
So do you feel like any dealer in the Seattle or area or nationally is doing the EV kind of, like, experience right?
I cannot think of a single dealership group, manufacturer, franchise that is doing the electric vehicle experience from my standard
that we want to provide.
I wouldn't say that they're not doing it right. They're doing it their way.
Yeah.
And they're doing it a way that they've done for a while and they're comfortable with.
All right. So how about this? Is there an argument to be made for having, I'm not saying it's a thing for you all, but like I talk to a lot of franchise dealers that they do a lot of switching. So, like, person comes in looking for, not thinking about buying an EV, but they come in looking for, hey, I want to get a pretty low monthly payment, and that's my main thing, right? And they come in looking for a used Corolla, and then maybe they don't qualify for it, or it's like, hey, you maybe have a little bit of an open mind. Why don't you test drive this Bolt over here? That's not something that you all could pull off, right? Because you're not going to have the ability to switch somebody coming in on a low-cost ICE car and walking out with an EV. What's your version of that?
Well, first, if I saw a dealer doing that, I would applaud them.
Yeah.
Because what we've seen more of is the opposite of that, or somebody might come in curious about a Bolt or a Leaf, and the dealer is, oh, well, how many miles do you drive a day? 60, 70? Yeah, that's not the car for you. That's not going to work for you. Let's go look at the Corolla.
Yeah.
So
there's plenty of that. No, there is plenty of that, and there's individual salespeople that are sort of like selling what's comfortable for them, and but yeah, I do think that there is this may be more of a tax credit car thing, because I do think the way that the used credit has been getting used all around the country is essentially like, yeah, it brings down the price, but more, it gives the person that is credit challenged a $4,000 down payment.
Right.
And so they can walk out with, they may not be able to put a down payment on the Corolla, but they can use the used EV rebate as a down payment on the Bolt, and then they just walk out with a monthly payment that's pretty low, and then you're not paying gas, and so, like, it really fits into your budget.
I'm interested in hearing Shannon's take on your question, but I will share that from my perspective. We don't have a version of that, because we're a lot more interested in asking questions, getting to know the customer, and meeting the client's needs than shifting them to a specific product that we have in mind. That's exactly the opposite of how we want to do our business.
Yeah, and my mind goes to, we won't have the advantage to be able to use the $4,000 to get this credit challenge person into a car, but we will have the opportunity to build a relationship with them and help them understand financial health and what they might be able to do and understand their credit scores and how to get their credit scores up. And we might be able to say, okay, but I think what we can do is we could actually find this electric vehicle in the market for you. If you have the ability and the luxury of waiting a couple of weeks, we could find that vehicle for you if we don't already have that low cost product on the lot for them. So, you know, when we talk about being curious and we talk about serving our community, our philosophy is not what can we do to get you into a car today. It's what can we do to get you to the right car. And maybe that's not today. And maybe that's taking a little bit more time or helping that person get their credit score up or saving a little bit of money. And so there's that knowledge that we get to teach them, not just about electrification, but about finances.
Yeah.
Our job and what we're really going to focus on is, yes, we are selling the safest, fastest, most reliable vehicle in the industry that a person can buy. And our job is going to be to sell the driving and the ownership experience of electric vehicles. So I'm actually really excited right now because it's an even playing field. You know, the pendulum swing of people liking and hating or loving electric vehicles has always been on this tax credit, right? And they've always blamed the tax credit for the reason that's driving the purchase. Well, not anymore. So let the best men, people win.
Do you think that having a women-owned and operated dealership is going to make a difference in our customer base?
I would 100% come and buy a car here, right? Like when I have a 15-year-old who's like getting his license at some point, he's definitely getting a used EV. I'll buy it from you all. You know, yeah.
I think that there is a huge percentage of women that have not been intentionally or at least effectively marketed to.
Yeah.
And that's a space that we know we can fill.
Yeah.
And I would also say that not all of our buyers are going to be EV buyers. I think that our buyers are going to be EV curious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And maybe they decide that they don't want to make the switch this time.
Yeah. So besides like, okay, so if you have identified, maybe there's a customer segment that's like, you know, higher propensity for you. How are you thinking about your marketing and also the in-store experience, you know, from you've got the living room here, like, but what about from like test drives to negotiations to the checkout experience, the transaction experience? Like, are there other like kind of like ways that you're going to take a different path than a traditional car dealership
Absolutely.
because of that?
I'm glad that you asked.
Okay.
And it's not necessarily because of that, but we think it will appeal.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
And we want our customers, we're not going to be doing negotiating. We're going to do it's menu pricing. This is what it is.
Yeah.
And for service packages, we may have a good, better, best option that we will go over with you. But a big part is not having a finance manager. So the person that you meet at the beginning of your journey who asks questions, gets to know what your needs are, takes you on a demo drive, hopefully of a couple of different vehicles so that we can better understand your preferences, is going to be the same person that's signing your paperwork with you.
Yeah.
So that'll be refreshing.
Yeah, that sounds great to me.
Hey, thanks for spending the past 2.5 hours with me and getting to know me. Let me introduce you to this person who's going to spend the next 3 hours making sure you're hungry enough to sign anything we put in front of you. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
That's right. You know, one of our biggest philosophies is you're in charge. So you're in charge. You're the customer. Of course the customer is in charge. If you don't exist and if you don't get what you want, then we're not in business. So whatever you want, we'll figure out how to do it. I mean, even choosing our technology partners has been a long drawn out process and pretty eye-opening because we want our customers to have complete transparency from the moment they hit our website to the moment they sign their paperwork. It needs to be the same. It can't be different, right? Because that's where you lose that. It's where you get that distrust. That's where you get those questionings. And so in fact, we want our customers to be able to transact online. You can buy a car from wherever you'd like to buy a car from.
We recently got a look at the intentions survey data from like the question it was a McKinsey study. It was like, what kind of car do you intend to buy for your next car? And in Washington, Oregon, California, the kind of the average of all the CARB states, 38% of people said my next car will be an electric car. Now it could be that it included a plug-in hybrid and battery electric, right? Versus 25% in non-CARB states. I was not surprised that it was 38% intending for the carb states. I was surprised that actually 25% of non-carb state buyers said that, because that's like, 2x the level of EV sales now in like the quote red states, and it's 3 to 4 times what the level of sales is in the quote blue states, right? So like, I just look at that demand data that's totally aside from any mandate, from any rebates, and go like, well, if a third of the people, their next car is going to be an electric car, then what do we do? What are all dealers doing out there right now?
And carb mandate aside, there is a case to be made for EVs being more fun, more safe, and cheaper to own and drive.
We don't know a lot about what's about to happen in 2026, right? Like, we don't know what the new EV sales numbers are going to be. We don't know what tariffs are going to do with, to auto prices. We don't know if we're going into recession as a country. Like, there's all these questions that we don't know. We do know some things, right? One of them that I think is like maybe most applicable is like the used EV supply is going to surge, right? And the number one thing that's happening because of that is like off-lease EVs are just going to, like, it triples next year, off-lease EV supply, right? And so that 3-year-old off-lease vehicle that has basically 30,000 miles on it, and they're really new, and so the batteries are gonna be in great shape pretty much no matter what. Like, that seems to me that's like the car of the year next year. Like, do you all have that's a strategy? We're going to go source a bunch of those cars, and you're going to see a lot of 2023s in here.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. That is our strategy. Yeah, that's the sweet spot. You have to. Yeah. And of course you have the other ones, as all strategy for dealerships have for lead capture and other things, and your fun cars that you're going to be like, ooh, look at us. But absolutely, that's going to be our bread and butter. Yeah.
When you talk to somebody about, or you have somebody come in here, I'm thinking about battery electric, I'm thinking about plug-in hybrid. How do you have that conversation?
Well, I think it's just how we have every single conversation, which is, why are you in the market for a new car?
Tell me more.
Tell me more. Tell me what you know about plugins. Is it a certain brand? Is it a comfortability? Is there a road trip you're worried about? And it's understanding and breaking down some of those barriers so that they can. I mean, Jenny and I have been doing this for 25 years combined.
Do you all have any questions that you want to fire at me? Because I've been grilling you the whole time. So.
What made you want to start Recurrent?
I was looking at how, I remember this very well, it was in 2019, I was looking at how Nissan Leaf owners were selling their cars on Craigslist, and they were describing, it'd be all the normal stuff, and then they'd be like, this car still has 11 bars. Like,
what's 11 bars?
11 bars mean, and I'm like,
just getting a good signal.
That's it. And it was this weird, rule of thumb way to gauge battery condition. That's what they were talking about, because they knew that was a thing, right? But that was the only car that it existed for. And so I was like, oh, that's actually a real barrier to the used market, is sort of giving some confidence about what's going on in the battery and range and everything like that. So that's what led me here. And actually this was January 2020, a couple months before the pandemic. And I made a little mock-up of what would become a Recurrent report. Just made it in PowerPoint and just with some boxes and pictures, and walked into some used car dealers that had used EVs, and I was like, hey, what do you think about this? Does this look like a good idea? And I got some mixed, feedback. But there was enough from dealers. And when we talked about it in any way, shape, or form for potential buyers, they were like, yes, that's what I need. I wasn't going to buy a used EV because I'm okay with buying a new EV, but I wouldn't touch the used EV because I don't know what's going on with that car. And so even despite the kind of mixed feedback I got from dealers, which I think was and this was before we started the company, it was clear that there was end customer demand for that certainty. EPA range estimates are pretty wrong, even when the car's new, and they get more wrong over time, and they don't account for temperature variance. And so if I'm a customer and I walk in, I'm like, hey, I live here in Renton, and I like to go skiing at Crystal Mountain. And so it's going to be 20 degrees, sometimes when I go up there, and I want to make that round trip without having to charge. What are the right options for me? And I also want to make sure that's still going to be the case 3 years from now. Like, what should I be driving? And nobody can answer that question, except we can with that data. And so it just drives transparency. It gets people, a lot of the things you were saying, it drives transparency, trust. It gets people in the right car so they're not bummed like a year later.
Sets proper expectations.
Yeah.
Opportunity for education.
Yeah.
I love
Well,
it.
we're really looking forward to partnering with you so that we can get those data points and have better conversations with our customers to get them into the right product. Could you make an overarching statement about what you're finding with battery health and degradation over time? And maybe can you explain what degradation is?
Yeah. So, your phone, right? Like when you got it, you first were able to talk all day and you didn't have to charge it very often. It would maybe go down to 40% or something like that at the end of the day. And then a couple of years later, your phone, you got to plug it in halfway through the day because because the battery wears down. All lithium-ion batteries do this. They can't hold the same amount of charge. What I went into this company thinking, and I think what a lot of people think is like cars are just like phones. They wear down. What am I going to have to get another one when the next iPhone comes out? I'm going to have to get another one in 3 years? Like, that doesn't work. Cars don't wear down. EVs are not wearing down like your iPhone does, But it does change, and it changes in different weather conditions, and it changes over time. And so we've realized that by being transparent about this, everybody assumes the worst. And when we show them the reality, and they're like, oh, that's not too bad, that actually creates much more certainty, and it's just like demystifies like everything that's out there. So
Love that.
That's great.
Thanks for joining this episode of EV Insider. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.